Guys, we're gonna properly prep some pink foam that we picked up at the Home Depot and turn it into a waterproof shower wall. You're gonna learn every step along the way. Stay tuned and enjoy the video. What you're looking at here is a piece of Foamular XPS from the Home Depot. It's made by Owens Corning. It'll have the Pink Panther on it. It's my go-to shower wall material. It's extruded polystyrene. It's very dense, hard, flexible yet durable, easy to cut, and we're going to reinforce it with our fiber mesh. We have a shower wall system kit for sale on our website. It includes your shower wall mesh, enough shower mesh to cover 225 square feet of foam panels. Boom. Also included is 1 gallon of our quick coat. When the quick coat dries, we're going to come back, sand anything high, any humpbacks down smooth, and now we're ready to apply our marble coat, which you could do any countertop finish on your shower wall. The cool thing, we're gonna pour it flat and then install it vertical. I bet 60% of the time, I'm keeping my shower walls glossy, high gloss, epoxy. My customers, that's what they're wanting for that. The ultimate top coat does bring down the sheen level like behind me on our wall and adds a level of durability, but nobody is sliding a heavy crock pot across your shower wall, so that extra durability really isn't necessary. It'd just be an aesthetic thing. If your customer wants the matte, go ahead and apply that ultimate top coat. I've cut my shower wall to size, and I'll often take my 4x8 sheets into my shower, cut them with a sheetrock, fit them, fit the sides, mark where my holes go, and now I know this shower is ready to rock and roll. Enough yapping, let's get to work. The first step is I wanna wipe down my foam, any of the debris from cutting, I wanna get that out of here, because then we're gonna bring the mesh and adhere it down to the foam. And don't be worried about this sort of stuff, guys. We're gonna put the mesh right over that. The quick coat fills any of these gaps. It really saturates in there and reinforces the panel. The cool thing about using the quick coat is you could be on to the next step in 3 or 4 hours. So we're at the end of our day today. So I'm gonna put down my mesh and I'll be back tomorrow for the next step, which will be sand those high points, and we're applying a marble coat. All right, guys, here's our fiber mesh. This is exactly how it comes. And this is either a 2 or 1 man job. It's really easier with 2, but if you're by yourself, don't fret, I'm gonna show you how to do it by yourself. If you're making artwork out of foam, there's really no need for this mesh, guys. This mesh enforces the front of your panel for impacts, for slip falls. If somebody slips in the shower, you know, they're showering up, ooh la la, this is great, herbal essence, whew, and they, bam, smoke the wall, good to go. If this just had resin without the mesh, you'll dent it. I've done that. The foam got the mittens and it failed. So we put this on and then the foam wins, and I broke my knuckle. No, I didn't. That never happened. I'm not weak. All right, guys, when you put this on, overlap it. You don't have to be perfect because we're gonna come back and trim it before we start applying any epoxy. So take your time here too. It like wants to stick to itself, and the smoother you put this, the better. So I'll even have something like a shower squeegee. I'll pull out some slack and then I iron it on. This roll will do 225 square feet. It's okay if some sticks out too, because after this step, we're gonna come back and sand any loose fingers off. 4 ounces per square foot, 7 foot, 84 inches by blackjack, 21. Let's figure out the square footage. 84 times 21 equals 1764 divided by 144 equals 12.25 times 4. 49 ounces, my lady. Guys, a few things to know when working with quick coat. It's quick, hence the name. So if you're mixing small batches, I would just mix by hand. We're gonna mix up 50 ounces, so I'll be able to bury that mix without incorporating tons of air. You need to work quick. I'm gonna mix for 2 minutes with the paddle mixer and drill. Midway through, I'll do a quick scraperooski of the sides, add in my black tint and mix again. Then we're pouring that out, and you could either use a notch trowel or just spread it with your hands at this point. We're going 4 ounces per square foot. We start with part B because it is a thinner consistency. I'm gonna go up to 28. Now, quick coat has 0 UV resistance, hence the color. So we're gonna tint it black. You'll never know. It is designed to seam and do woodworking applications. I'll tint it white or black. So I'll be turning my board black and adhering my mesh at the same step. We are mixed. So for the demo purpose, I'm just gonna bring the quick coat to about there. I'm gonna pour our material in the center, and it's time to spread it. If you're gonna scrape your bucket, I always do that in the center of the mass, because then I'm gonna grab my trowel and mix that up a little bit before I start spreading, just in case there's any undermixed resin clinging to the side of our bucket. This quick coat's a thicker product, and once you get it flat on the board like this, you don't have to be in such a rush. If you leave it in your bucket for an extended period of time, that's when it'll exotherm and set off on you. So before spreading this material, I'm just gonna glide it amongst itself one more time here, and this is mixing the material one more time. And then I'll use my notch trowel to spread the material evenly across my project. And once I have most of it spread, I'll come back with my hands and spread it better, get it more even. You could feel any high points you may have. And this reinforces our panel so it'll last a very long time in your bathroom. Like I said earlier too, if you're making art that's hanging on the wall out of foam, kind of overkill to do this step. No need to. I also, at this step, will try to coat the edges with some material, because that will reinforce those long term as well. Now that my material's on there, I'm done with the trowel, set that aside. And we designed these to stand up so you could reuse them. And now what I'm feeling for is any humps of resin. I'm gonna just try to evenly spread that out. I got a little hump here, so I'm gonna walk some of that material up. All right, let's hit those edges now. If this was my edge being exposed, I'd have a piece of wood here, and then I'd make sure that the mesh covers that seam, and we're coating that really well. But right now I'm just going to coat these edges, because this is what I'm going to show our live shows. When somebody asks, can I do this in a shower? I'm going to say, oh, funny you may ask. And then I could walk them through it with a sample board. And don't worry about the seam. That's all soaking in and doing its job. It's awesome. And I just keep putting resin over that seam. And you can see too, I'm in no rush here either. Once you get the quick coat out of that bucket, you got plenty of time to work with it. But we'll be able to return in 4 hours to sanding these high points off of the mesh. And if any of the mesh humps on us, we're gonna sand that back down smooth with the rest of the board, and we'll be ready for the color coat. You could do anything at that point. You can make soapstone, you can make Carrara marble, you can make Baltic brown, anything. Let me get a torch now, eliminate some of the air. We're ready, this is done. I'm gonna peel up this tape now and let it do its thing. So now you can see what we did there. That's kind of cool. And I'm gonna dry my hand off, eliminate the air bubbles with a heat source. This is what'll happen here, folks. It's not a big deal, just let it do its thing. Once it kind of starts to float in areas, there's nothing we can do. The foam also off-gasses a little bit like wood does, but that's good. That's the epoxy penetrating in the surface of this material to really adhere it long-term. And at this stage, guys, we are done. I'm gonna address my edge. I'll rub it one more time, get it nice and smooth, and let this cure. We'll be back in 3 to 4 hours for the next step, but actually that's gonna be overnight. So I'll be back in the morning. All right, guys, we're back. My quick coat has dried, and you can see some of the areas that the mesh floats. That's normal. I haven't figured out a way to keep that mesh secured to the foam 100%, but it's not a big deal. I'm gonna sand these completely smooth, and then I've got little fingers of mesh poking out here. You definitely want to sand those. So I'll knock all those down. I'll hit my edges. I'll hit the surface with 120, knock down all those high points. Then we're cleaning off dust and doing our tape dam. Like a little low spot's fine. It'll fill in, but a hump could go through. So that's what I focused on, was my little humpity humps. So tape dams also do not like to stick to raw foam. So if you've taken the time to make sure you have really good edge coverage with epoxy, you could go ahead and do your normal tape dam, where you stick your tape up, create a little dam. That's when you're going over 4 ounces per square foot. Your melted marbles, exotic pours, rolling stone, which is what I'm gonna do on this one. If this is how your edges look, don't tape here. It's not gonna stick. So at that rate, we're gonna grab our window insulation foam. It's right here. This is like an aftermarket for sealing your windows. It's 3/8 wide, and we're gonna put a little bit of blue tape on the very edge of the surface and then do our tape dam up here, because those tape dams will blow out if you just try to tape on foam. So my insulation's only about 3/8 wide. So I'm just gonna put about 3/8 of tape on my foam panel here. And do not stick the window insulation directly onto the countertop or shower panel. That has an insane sticky on there, and when you go to peel it up, it'll leave a tape residue on your panel. So no good. And the reason I'm not putting the whole row of tape on, I put my tape dam here, that has to flow much more. So I'm coming to the very perimeter, just like that. And then I'll put my window insulation there, and then my epoxy will build up. And then when we peel that off, the epoxy just has to go from here to here rather than from here over. You really want to iron this down too. If a tape dam fails on you, there isn't much you can do to stop it. You're just gonna kind of have to let it do its thing. This is how you keep your tape dam from failing. Ooh la la. I'm gonna get my quick dry latex caulking, and this seam, all of my four corners are gonna need a little sealant, or the epoxy will work its way out. So I just come to the outside, put a little blob, and then hit it with my finger, and that creates enough dam to keep the resin from leaking out. There's a decent gap right there. I'll fill that in, smush it. I'm going 7 ounces per square foot for my rolling stones. I go heavy on my shower panels. We're gonna have some fun today. So my base is gonna be black dye, bigger cup. And then I've got the 2 paste colors, one from Color Obsession, one from Just Resin. You could pick those colors up at artisttilldeath.com or over at RK3 Designs. Both sell Stone Coat products. RK3 Designs, however, does our hands-on training course. Out in South Texas, you could head out there and learn everything you need to know about starting a successful epoxy-based business. Coming soon this year is our hands-on training flooring course, where we're going to teach you every step along the way how to successfully start that coatings business, not knowing anything about coatings. Book your spot right now. They are flying off the shelves. RK3designs.com. And if you look below, guys, when you're doing shower walls, you want to fully support whatever size panel you're going to be pouring on. If you don't, if you just put strips, the foam will bow, and it will, the weight of the epoxy will cause that foam to bow. My support foam below is about 3 inches smaller all the way around than my big panel. That way I have some overhangs for these drips, and it doesn't hook my foam together, which not a big deal. If it does, you just take a knife, score them, they pop it apart. All right, let's get to mixing. Art Coat is our go-to epoxy whenever doing white or light countertops. This is a longest working time in the epoxy industry, and for an epoxy, stays color fast longer than any of our competitors. It's a 1-to-1 epoxy, very low in odor, 0 VOCs, and user-friendly. Tons of time to work with it. I scrape the sides, and you're left with these iridescent lines. That's undermixed epoxy. That's why I'm scraping the sides. I'm pulling it into my batch. Boom, bye. You always need to start out with a good mix, otherwise it's not going to cure properly. And how we do that is mixing with a paddle mixer on a drill. About 60 to 90 seconds. Pause, scrape the sides, another 30 to 60 seconds. And now we're dividing it up and adding colors where we're going to mix an additional time. The Sage Luster and Ghost Blue, we'll leave a link in the description below where you can go pick those up at. We don't sell them, but they are some amazing epoxy colors. ArtistTillDeath.com will hook you up, guys. They import colors from Australia that are top of the line, fantastic, color fast, with a color selection that blows ours out of the water. Let me know in the comments below, do you want to see Stone Coat expand their color line? I would love to. I've been fighting for it. Help me help you. Okay, for your dyes, you want to just add enough to get the color you desire. Don't just cram a bunch in. You don't want to exceed 5% by volume, but a little goes a long way, folks. And I'll show you right now, too, how to test if it's opaque. Because, yeah, that looks really, really dark, right? Sometimes you could pull it up and it won't be. You lay it down flat till you have about 1/8 of an inch of material. If you can't see the stick, it's opaque. No more dye needed there. Thoroughly mix, scrape the sides, and that's done. wipe your sticks off and you could reuse them. I don't take a black fresh stick into a white. You will tint it a little bit. Sage luster. So these pastes, like I mentioned, come from Australia. When you get them, they may be settled, kind of coagulated a little or separated like this. It's totally normal. Still usable. All we're gonna do is scrape it off the lid so we don't lose any of that good stuff. And then thoroughly incorporate that. See how it's separated? There is a medium, or I don't know what it is they use. I wish I knew. I feel like I need a little more on there so I can see my wood ghosting through. Pro tip, don't stick a stick that's been in epoxy back into your paste or you're gonna have a chunk. So we're gonna use 2 sticks for this one. I'm gonna add a little more color here. Scrape that in. I thought this would be a little darker, but we're gonna roll with it. This is like a Mystic Moss almost. One of my all-time favorites is this Ghost Blue too. I made a piece with this. Really, really pretty. There's like some black luster tied with this blue ghost that I haven't been able to get any other color. Just be sure to mix those pastes, guys. It makes a big difference. Ooh, look at that. They're very concentrated. Gosh, that's pretty. Dark bronze. I love this color. One of my favorites of all time. And it's a tablespoon or 2. Start slow with your powders. You can play with the opacity of this. Just add a little bit. Have a real translucent piece with tons of depth. I'm going for a flowing marble. Yep, we're doing it. We're gonna go light on the copper today. Last and certainly not least, our beautiful gold dust. I'm gonna go light on that too. I don't want it to take over. I just want a very subtle gold accent today. Cool, we're doing that. That looks cool. I'm gonna pour a little extra clear down as my grease coat. You don't need much either, guys. And you could use a popsicle stick. In this case, I'm gonna use my magic trowel to quickly spread this clear. When I have excess on there, I'll put it towards my edge because when I pull the tape down, it's gonna flow off anyways. We got our mixed epoxy. This is my tool of choice for the Rolling Stone. Just a roller. Now let's pour out our mixed resin. I'm gonna do blobs, 3 to 5 inch size ribbons. Might be a no bueno, but we're gonna mix it with some bronze and make it look good. Let's glide, boys and girls. And we're using a roller. I'm not gonna roll it back and forth. That would just create mud. I'm gonna glide. I like to push a mountain over. And the more times you glide, the more blending and melding you can get here. I'm gonna go fast today. And this copper's too much, so I'm gonna do this. Bring this black and come over it. I don't like the green, so I'm gonna try to cover it if I can. I need some more colors in that spot. So I'm gonna come in to get some copper. Ooh, I'm liking this look. I haven't even hit it with alcohol yet. Let's do that. Get rid of some air again. When you're using this roller, you can incorporate air into the piece as it lays epoxy over. I wish I had more blue. I have a little bit. Put a little alcohol on it. I'm going to go bigger drops at first, followed by a finer mist here and there. That extra material we use helps melding, flowing, gets you some real natural effects that you can't get anywhere else. I'm going to meld it again. Here we go. Barely glide through it. I'm just hitting the surface. Yeah, you can steer it way better with the stick. This is where also Erica with Artist Till Death is a pro. She's a trained artist, and so is her husband with tons of experience. They know color theory like no other. I obviously am still learning it. Guess you could fog and fracture some of this if you hated the green. Maybe that could fix it. It ain't the worst. I kind of think I've recovered a little bit from it, but I'm not the biggest fan of these colors. I don't know what else I could really do here though. Just touch up with a little bit of this. All right guys, I'm gonna let that cure up and I'll be back to peel the tape in probably about an hour. This is sick. This vein's coming to life. We've pushed the limits. It's been over 2 hours since I mixed this resin. So I'm gonna show you how to get yourself out of the weeds when you've left your tape dam on a wee bit too long. Always glove up and make sure your fingers are in the holes. I'm gonna dip my finger in and pull up. You see how high I can get that? And you see how when I put a blob, it's taking time to self-level, it's quite gelled up. So this is my sample board. I'm gonna peel this last, and this is my secondary little tape dam because I don't want it to flow past here. I'm trying to tell the story for my live shows. So I'm gonna come over here to my tape dam. I'll start in this front. Once I get the corner set free, bam. And we are now just gonna peel this tape dam. Have your knife ready when you're doing a tape dam because you can, just like that, have a little sticky spot. I have a lot of material in the back here, so we're out of level. We'll be able to probably pull some of that around the front. We may be in trouble, but let me show you how I'd fix this. So I've got epoxy on my table and my hand. My tape didn't have much on it, but we need to just lubricate this to get it to move. So I'm gonna start pulling my leading edge over. I'm not trying to mess up my colors. I'm just pulling them over. I'm probably 45 minutes to an hour late on this. It is way past due. I'm walking that leading edge over with my finger. It's gonna lubricate the board. So I'll even come back with all the scraps on this table, and then we're gonna warm the surface and it'll get this material to flow. All right, now I'm coming here for my scraps and I'm gonna wet this whole edge out where I want it to flow. If I would have been here about 20 minutes ago, it all would have been doing this, even 30. So I'm just gonna help this down, and you see how it's doing this? That's because you have that surface tension. If that was wet in between it, it all would flow real well. So I'm gonna use what's flowing over here down and wet it. And I'm pulled down so I don't smear the green over the copper. If this is my leading edge on my shower, it's gonna look like it all flowed out of the same piece. I think it's gonna be epic. All right, we gotta fix this though. A dry spot right there. Yeah, see how we're flowing now a little bit? I bet I wouldn't even need to do heat and this is still gonna flow out. That's why we have to have additional material, guys. If I had 3 ounces per square foot, there would be no volume to move over the edge when it gels up, even when you do it at the proper time. So the key with that is warming up a nice swatch, and you gotta keep that torch moving a little bit faster now that the epoxy's gelled quite up. I mean, this is way past due. So set an alarm. In Oregon, I'm about between hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. I'm pulling that tape. In Texas, it's more about 1 hour. That's due to the humidity and heat difference. And what I love is my piece did not spread. I'm digging it. There's some really cool features of this project. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna clear coat it, and then I'm gonna do UTC gloss and UTC matte and have a whole feature shower wall to show you every step along the way. I didn't need my other dam here. This was in case I pulled it off and it really started to flow. And you could really see the difference there when you put the 7 ounces. It's a nice coating on there. We'll be back tomorrow, guys, to do an epoxy clear coat for till about here. Guys, this shower panel is looking super nice. We're a little past 24 hours, so we're gonna need to lightly sand before applying our clear coat. I'm gonna sand the edges and surface with 220. And you could do this by hand, just a light hand scuff, but I got a little booger over here. I'm gonna sand that down nice and smooth. That way when the clear coat comes, that doesn't go its way through. Foam, mesh, quick coat to hold your mesh down, sanded, color coat, clear coat, UTC. Guys, always switch to your hand sander, 220, even 320 when hitting your rolled. This is the tightest, thinnest part of the whole project. And if you use your random orbital sander, odds are you're gonna burn through this corner. And you could have done your whole project with the hand sander at this point. But what you want to address is like this little high point that was over here. You want to sand that all the way smooth. That's usually best with a random orbital. You'll be sanding all day with this guy. But if you have no high points or bugs to sand out of your color coat, that's all I would have done on this project. Just hand scuff it. You're creating some tooth for the next layer of epoxy to bite. So at this stage, you could wipe with towels, or if you want to be real thorough, you can spray it down with alcohol. But a little bit of epoxy dust disappears when you go to do the next coat. and all these scratches disappear. All right, let's mix up some material. How much do I need for an epoxy clear coat? The first person to answer that question correctly in the comments below, I'm sending you a hat. 3 ounces per square foot is the correct answer. 68 by 21. When mixing small batches of resin, it could become white. That's incorporating air into the epoxy. You're gonna be able to remove all the air by sweeping a heat source over the material once it's on your project. Scrape the sides. I'm only at about 1/3 speed too. No need to hammer that bad boy all the way. Our 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch notch trowel evenly spreads the material for a nice glass-like uniform finish. Then you could come back with a chop brush and chop the top. That mixes the material one more time. You also could use your gloved hands if you don't want to use a chop brush. Today, we're using a chop brush. We're going old school. Before using a chop brush or any brush, you always want to de-shed those things in your epoxy. So I get a little violent with it. I pull, I yank, and we're good to go, I think. And I like to pour this in one big mass, because then I'm gonna come scrape that bucket right into the middle. And I'm gonna trowel this amongst itself, which will mix the material a second time. I mixed in the bucket, I scraped the sides of the bucket, and I mixed again. Now I'm mixing the material with my notch trowel, and now we're gonna spread it. So I just kind of walk the blob across the project. That clear epoxy brings the colors right on back. Ooh, that's pretty. I'll spread my material up to the edge, but not take it over until most of my project's been covered. Because once you give the epoxy an exit pathway, it's gonna run there. So I don't want my material draining on me over there while I'm continuing to spread. So hit the whole piece up to the perimeter. And now I come back into the middle. And you can notice, guys, too, I'm holding my trowel pretty vertical. I'm not doing this. That's gonna pull way too much material off. I'm going like that. Let me get that back in there. So I come into the center now, and I'm looking for that excess material, because that's what I'm gonna now walk across and bring over the edges. And just a little bit is needed. I don't want to run everything over, because once you get it started, it'll start flowing good. Now that I have some resin going over my edge, I come back and rub the edge with my gloved hand. So come back to the center here, grab that resin, work it towards the perimeter, and we're gonna walk it off this side now. Your 3 ounces per square foot is the perfect amount of material for a glass-like finish with the minimalist amount of waste. Following these steps, you're gonna have a beautiful epoxy project without a bunch on your floor and a bunch in the bucket. You probably aren't gonna be able to show them on camera, Nate, but there are some iridescent trowel marks. And if you leave that, it's gonna cure, and that's gonna catch the light just very subtly. Right in the right light, you'll be able to see it. So at this stage, you can use your gloved hands and chop the top like this, but that could take forever when you are on a big piece. So it's very efficient to use a chop brush or a little smaller handheld brush, and you don't get epoxy all over yourself. I'm gonna come into my bucket, and I'm gonna pre-wet down as much best I can with the residue in my bucket. Now I'm not gonna make a dry spot when I go to chop. So just in a random fashion, I'm using the heel of this brush. Boom, boom. That's what you're looking for. Wada bam, voila, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Just randomize it. You're gonna add some bubbles in there, but this is our third mix, folks. I now can sleep easy tonight because this beautiful shower panel that's never gonna get installed because it's just a demo piece is gonna cure perfectly. It's not gonna have any soft, sticky spots. You don't want that in your epoxy. That's like worst case scenario. You could recover from nearly everything other than gooey jelly epoxy, then you're in trouble. So just mix right. And I'm also paying attention for any bristles. I'm watching where I'm chopping to see if any bristles are falling out. You've got 2 hours to get the bristles out of this. Not many come out when you de-shed it like that. And then one comes out right in front of me. Good, I was hoping it would do that so I could show you how to remove it. Okay, we are chopped. I take my brush and I knock down any ridges on my edges. Voila, and shazam. Popsicle stick time. What am I gonna use that for? I don't know. Eat a popsicle. Just kidding, I'm gonna make some chopsticks. You can also use tweezers. So I just will kind of get one under it. Or you could walk it off. Looks good. I'll also pay attention as I go to remove my air bubbles too, guys. My go-to torch. These giant holes right here keep the torch lit when you're upside down. And it's time to remove air bubbles from this clear coat. My go-to tool, like I just said, is my Bernzomatic torch. You also could use a heat gun. I say you could use a blow dryer, but really that is like using a flathead screwdriver. Nobody uses those. There's way better tools out there than a flathead. I usually torch my project a minimum of 3 times. I went front to back, so I let it cool a minute or 2, and then I come back and go the other direction. The epoxy will not catch on fire, but you can flash cure the top if you hold the torch steady for too long. It'll wrinkle and smoke. Our epoxy is VOC free until you burn it, or it starts to exotherm if you forgot a bunch in a cup. So just keep your torch head moving at a consistent speed. It's a little bumpy because it's still laying out, but I'm not seeing micro bubbles. So I'm gonna torch it one more time. We'll call this good. We'll let this cure overnight, come back tomorrow and do the ultimate top coat. That gets you to install your projects much quicker. My shower panels that do not have the ultimate top coat, I let them cure a week before I install. If I do the UTC on there, gloss or matte, I can install them 2 days later, 48 hours later, and the customer can use them as soon as the silicone dries. Drippies. But no real need to sand these until you're all done with the coatings. Be sure to sand these off before the ultimate top coat because the rotation can flick and almost make that fresh UTC chip if you haven't hit these drips before applying that product. And whatever making epoxy into dust, be sure to mask up. So my grinder turns this way, and I'm gonna use this edge, so hold it up a little bit, and I'm just gonna lightly knock down the high points till they're all about uniform, and then I start going down. And I wanna leave just the smallest amount of epoxy without any high points. To prep your epoxy shower walls or countertops for the ultimate top coat, you're gonna want to ensure that epoxy is cured and then lightly sand with 220 grit for the matte or natural version. And we're gonna step it up to 320 grit when covering that project with our gloss ultimate top coat. Some of the curly Q 220 marks goes through when I've applied the ultimate top coat over a 220 scratched surface. I walked it up to 320 and then I've never seen that ever again. So 320 for the glossy, 220 for the matte. Or you could go 320 on the matte too, it doesn't hurt anything. We're creating a mechanical bond, which is the necessary step when going our modified water-based urethane over an epoxy product. I got a couple little high points here on my edge, and I don't know what it is, but they're little high points. So I want to show you how you want to take care of these before the ultimate top coat. You can see how I've sanded the surface, that's really white, and then the sandpaper hit around, but you have a little glossy ring. What I'm gonna do is sand this high point down till it looks like this. It's all uniform and sanded. That way this does not show up in the reflection of the top coat. All right, guys, let's mix up some ultimate top coat. The first step on the matte is you gotta shake it up well. The matting agents will settle, so give it a good shake before you start to mix. I don't really need a roller tray for today's application. It's a 2x2 square. That's 4 square feet, very little. I'm gonna mix up the smallest amount I can in my little pint mixing glass. And then I have a tray, a roller tray, for your normal application. You'll mix it up, you'll thin it down with the water. I'll leave a link in the description below. That takes you to a PDF that breaks down this into an easy to understand formula on how much water to add and how much to mix up to apply to your project so you have no waste. So normally I'd mix up my material, pour it into a paint pan, wet my roller, off roll it, and then apply. But I'm mixing a couple ounces at the most. So I'm just gonna pour it in and apply it with my roller. Discard the wet roller, grab my dry roller, remove excess material, and then I'm gonna move on to my glossy version. And both products will be dry and ready for use in 24 to 48 hours. That's fast. Normally you'd have to wait a good week for this epoxy to dry before you could use it, before it's cured enough and strong enough to withstand the daily wear and tear in a kitchen. But if this is your first time applying ultimate top coat, I would definitely recommend doing it on, let's say, a 3x4 piece. If you've made a sample board, apply it there first. You're really gonna learn the amount of pressure you need to dry roll. Just practice. And if you have a couple little, like, is that a lap line? don't panic. If it's very minimal, the product self-levels, those lap lines disappear. What you don't want to do is roll the product, go work on another piece, and then come back and go, oh, let me hit it right here. After that's set up for a few minutes, 5-6 minutes on its own, it's dried, air's moving, it's starting to set off, don't come back and touch it with a roller. That's a pro tip. Now I'm going to mix with a paint stick. No need to mix Ultimate Top Coat with a drill or power mixer. It's overkill. This stuff mixes fast with a stick, and it is thick. You could see that. That's why we're going to add a little bit of water. And the water is lukewarm. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's just room temp. We add in a little bit at a time, mix again, and already that material is laying down. Still a touch more. If you round up, if you're also doing little art projects, round up to the nearest number divisible by 3. That'll make your math much easier because it's a 2-to-1 product. If this is a big project, it's going into a paint tray, but today I'm just gonna pour a little bit on here, wet down my roller, make sure your roller rolls. So what we're looking for here is an even coating. We wanna make sure we've covered the whole board, and then we'll come back and get it as even as possible before switching to a dry roller. So now that's looking pretty uniform, right? Got about the same amount of material on the whole piece. Now I'm gonna come hit my edges. Hit the edge and hit the roll. And a pro tip too when going with matte is to sand your product all the way matte. That way if you don't have as good of coverage everywhere, you'll have a sanded surface so it won't jump out at you. That's a pro tip. All right, dry roll. Now this is a completely dry delinted roller, and I'm going to just remove some of my material right off the surface. And I like to go in just one direction. You can go in two, it's okay. As soon as that roller starts to make a sticky noise, I know my roller is getting full and I need to switch to another dry roller. I'm looking for consistent rolling, very light pressure, and hit your edges. We're good to go there. It's time to mix up the glossy version while that dries. The A side is what's different in the two products, but look at how thick this is. Do not apply UTC directly out of the bucket into your counter. Oh my gosh, I almost said it there. Instead of multiplying by 0.16 to add your water for the matte, we're gonna multiply by 0.50. So if I have 3 ounces of UTC, I'm adding 1.5 ounces of water. I could do that math quickly. Now you see why I did it in 3s, right? So just add your water and then mix until thoroughly incorporated. You don't want any chunks. That's why we have that mathematical formula. It's perfect. Trust it. Same deal. We're pouring that glossy out, rolling her out. Just even coat here is what I'm looking for. That matte's almost cleared out. You could get nearly anything out of the Ultimate Top Coat. It is very, very stain resistant. Spray paint, mustard, permanent pen, wood stain. My kid found a thing of wood stain underneath the woodshed and then took an axe and opened it and covered himself in it to become, venom. And then he got all over my table with the stain on him. I thought he ruined the UTC, but it came right out. I was amazed. Okay guys, same deal, taking that dry roller and removing excess material. And we'll let this dry. This will be dry and ready to install between 24 and 48 hours. This is the evolution of a shower panel. After a day or two curing, after applying that Ultimate Top Coat, we're ready to install our walls. The walls go on very easily. You want the shower or bathtub surround ready for a tile install. It's waterproofed. You've got your green board, you've waterproofed the walls and the pan. So we're gonna come in with our foam walls, blob silicone, squish those nice and tight, which suction cups those walls to the existing sheetrock. Then we're gonna silicone the vertical seams, and now our shower is sealed up, ready to rock and roll. We'll let it dry for one day. Your customer can use the shower the very next day. If your customer's installing glass shower walls, you gotta make sure anything with screws, a mounted shower door that swings needs to be into studs behind that sheetrock. Do not rely on your shower wall just to be in your pink foam and sheetrock. It has to hit some structure to hold that tight. And what we do to make sure that that shower glass wall guide doesn't hurt or damage our shower walls is on that outside, 4 inches of our panel, we're gonna install a exterior grade MDF or marine grade plywood. It won't compress. So any exterior shower wall is gonna take a wood edge. We'll router that way the epoxy flows nice and it can withstand really hard impacts, that's about the only spot your edge is gonna get an impact is on the 2 exterior sides. when you go to clean and maintain those walls. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna leave a video right here. Check it out. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Until next time, from Stone Coat, don't forget you got this. We'll see you on the next video.